The three knock, that's right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. We are going to go ahead and get started. I know that there's a lot of things going on today. There are some commissioners that are being recorded, and some will sneak out during the presentations to get their recordings done. But I want to go ahead and make sure that we get started and we're respectful of the public's time and our time. So with that, let's start with introductions, starting with our clerks.
Good afternoon. I am Christine Smith, Clerk to the Board.
Good afternoon. I am Marlissa Easton, Deputy Clerk to the Board.
Good afternoon. I'm Susan Rodriguez McDowell, elected by the people of District 6.
Good afternoon. I'm Laura Meyer, and I represent District 5.
And I'm George Dunlap, elected by the people of District 3.
Good afternoon. My name is Lee Altman, County Commissioner serving at large, and I have the honor of also serving as Vice Chair.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Jarrell. I've been elected by the people of District 4. Also have the honor and privilege of serving as chair.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Arthur Griffin, County Commissioner at large.
Good afternoon. I am Mecklenburg County Commissioner Elaine Powell, representing District 1, which is Huntersville, Davidson, Cornelius, and North Charlotte.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yvette Townsend Ingram, and I am Mecklenburg County Commissioner at large.
Good afternoon, Tyrone Wade, County Attorney.
Good afternoon, Dina DiOrio, County Manager.
Good afternoon, Anthony Troutman, Deputy County Manager.
Good afternoon, Leslie Johnson, Deputy County Manager.
Good afternoon, Mike Bryant, Deputy County Manager.
Good afternoon, Derek Ramos, Deputy County Manager and Chief of Staff.
Good afternoon, Adrian Cox, County Budget Director.
Good afternoon, LaShawn Carter, Equity Inclusion Officer.
Good afternoon, Amanda Joyner, Senior Equity and Inclusion Consultant.
Good afternoon, Ebony Lewis, Equity and Inclusion Consultant.
Do we have staff on this side of the room? Mr. Ortega.
Good afternoon, Eric Ortega, Senior Social Services Manager, Unified Workforce Development. Good afternoon, my name is Roger Johnson, and I represent
Hi, I'm Ruth Graham,
Good afternoon, Kay Timbo, Community Relations Coordinator.
All right, that looks like everyone. Oh, Danny, please, sorry.
Hi, I'm Tamila, and the marketing specialist at the PA department.
Thank you.
I'm Dean Dillon, the Public Information Director.
All right. Well, thank you. That's all the introductions right now. If you'll stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We've got a short agenda today, relatively speaking. So I'll turn it over to the manager to tee up the presentations for the day.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we get ready for our retreat at the end of the month, we wanted to prepare and present to you a presentation that will give you an update on where we are with workforce development. At our last retreat, we had a full panel on workforce development. We had representation from the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, the City of Charlotte, Charlotte Works. And so there's things that have changed over the last year, and so we kind of want to level set everybody as we go into the retreat, particularly as you start to set your priorities for fiscal year 26 and beyond. So we're fortunate today to have Anna London, CEO of Charlotte Works, here today to provide you that presentation. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do I need to stand here and speak in that?
All right, perfect. All right, so good after, do I need to stand behind this to speak, or can I move around?
You need to be in front of the mic.
The
so
mic,
that people
okay.
out in the world can hear you.
All right, perfect. All right, so I'll stand right here. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. As Dina Diorio mentioned, I was with you all last year and shared with you all kind of where things were as far as the workforce development ecosystem. And over the last year and a year and couple months, we've made a lot of progress around actual alignment in the ecosystem. And so a little over a year ago, you all remember that there were multiple organizations, multiple entities kind of leading a workforce development strategic plan or a workforce development strategies for the community. So there was, the city of Charlotte had an external plan for workforce development. The Charlotte Executive Leadership Council also had workforce development priorities. Mecklenburg County, you all are prioritizing workforce development. We also had a collaborative called Queen City Collaborative that is a local collaborative of My Future NC that was leading workforce development initiatives, as well as a local committee of the Charlotte Works Board of Directors that is called the Workforce Providers Council. And so a little over a year ago, I brought together all of those entities. So the city, the county, Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, Charlotte Works, as well as Queen City Collaborative, so Central Piedmont, and the Workforce Providers Council, which is a committee of our board of directors. And we looked at what are we all trying to accomplish in this community by having 5 or 6 different workforce strategies, workforce development strategic plans. And so over the last year, I'm excited to share that we've actually now, everything has rolled up under the umbrella of Charlotte Works. So there are no longer multiple different community-wide workforce development strategies. And we have all agreed on this statement. So our goal is, so we've all agreed to align our workforce strategies, and we've all agreed that this is ultimately what we're trying to accomplish. So to form a clear picture of today and tomorrow's workforce needs and implement solutions that close job skills gaps while creating career pathways to promote economic mobility. And so we have alignment between the City of Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, all under the umbrella of Charlotte Works. While we have all aligned under this focus, this strategy, or this goal to make sure that we're forming a clear picture of today and tomorrow's workforce needs, implementing solutions, and creating career pathways, we've also implemented a couple of tangible activities or initiatives. And so over the last year, about a year ago, we actually launched the 3 things that you see at the bottom. And so we launched a technology tool or solution for helping residents, job seekers, actually connect with workforce provider programs. And so that is where you see the picture of the job seeker assessment. It's called, it's WPC.work. So we have launched that site, and I'm going to share, toward the end of this, I'm going to give you a quick demo of that. And so that is a technology tool that job seekers they go to the site, they answer 7 questions, and then it tells them what is the best first place to receive services in Mecklenburg County around workforce development, career development. And then we launched, in May, we had our first Workforce Development Summit. And so that was a partnership of the logos that you see at the top, but Charlotte Works, the city, the county, as well as Charlotte Executive Leadership Council. The goal of that is to really promote best practices and really bridge the gap between talent serving organizations, so workforce providing organizations, and businesses. So talent acquisition team members, really bridging the gap between job seekers and jobs, making sure that our local residents are able to access meaningful, good jobs, and that businesses are able to access skilled and qualified candidates. And I'll share more about that. And then we also, this has not launched, and so I'm sharing this publicly for the first time, but we did also create, as part of WPC.work, we did create a kind of a business-facing side of that tool. So for WPC.work, there's a job seeker assessment where job seekers can access workforce providing organizations. There's also a a section for it, and I'm going to show it today. It's not public-facing yet, but it is Charlotte Workforce Development Funding and Business Services Application. So we hear often from, especially from our economic development partners, as well as organizations that are serving businesses and the thousands of businesses that we serve on an annual basis, through our career centers and through our Charlotte Works team, that businesses don't know where to start either. Where do I go if I need access to talent? Where do I go if I'm interested in tax incentives or business incentives? Where do I go if I need specific workforce funding? And so this application on the same tool, WPC.work, businesses are able to access that. And so those are really the three main kind of larger, tangible, tactical initiatives that have come out of the strategic alignment of all of us aligning around making sure that we have a clear picture of today and tomorrow's workforce, and then implementing true solutions and career pathways to close job skills gaps. Our next steps around, so we've all adopted and agreed on that is our strategy. Our next steps are industry-led targets. So we're working with industry. The largest industry collaborative that we are working with is the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, but also working with additional businesses in partnership with city and county economic development, as well as the Charlotte Regional Business Alliance, to have industry really make a commitment, a hiring commitment. So industry-led targets. We are also looking at creating industry collaboratives. And so we do have a couple of collaboratives now, but really expanding that across the 5 to 6 industries that are in demand. And having an industry collaborative that's led by industry, so business leadership at the table, really does help employers to more adequately and more quickly communicate and solve for their talent needs. We can run reports and gather data from Lightcast or MZ or other tools, but that's really all about job postings. And so it really does take relationship and dialogue with the business in order to really know what is happening within that business and then what are their future needs going to be. And then the goal of creating expanded career pathways that align employers and training providers. And so that is something that we're doing in partnership with the Workforce Providers Council, as well as additional training providers in Mecklenburg County. So the goal is that we will, to create the career pathways, there'll be industry-driven, industry-sponsored, industry-led career pathways that align with local training providers in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg community. So this is a picture of that vision. So I know I kind of gave a high-level kind of overview of it, but this is a picture of that vision. So really, now that we've all come together under one umbrella of Charlotte Works, we have agreed to align all of our workforce strategies, our funding, our priorities around workforce development efforts. The goal really is, of course, to really connect the talent and the business. And so you all may remember over the last few years, and I think as part of the presentation a couple of years ago, Charlotte Executive Leadership Council was partnering with a group, an organization or a company called Radius. And the idea was that there was going to be a technology solution. And so what that work actually created for us was a framework to be able to move forward. So the Radius efforts under Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, the workforce development commitments that will be made under the CELC, Charlotte Works is going to drive that. And so in a couple of months, actually in March, I will be presenting to the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, and following that, including additional businesses in partnership with economic development and other collaboratives, to have industry really make an industry-led target. So make a commitment on hiring for specific industries in this community. We know that we've got X number of jobs available right now and that will be available in the future. We are going to move forward with making a commitment for these larger industry collaboratives to hire local residents and candidates through Charlotte Works, through our talent sourcing strategies and our talent sourcing network. And so we have on the left side of this is the talent side of our vision. On the right side is the business. And so if we take kind of the full picture, we know that a resident, let me go back. Let me just go to the next slide real quick. Let me make sure. Okay. So on the talent side of the journey, whether all of the job seeker personas are listed here, and all job seekers depending on their persona, whether it's an experienced an adult, an underemployed individual, a chronically challenged individual that may have multiple barriers to employment, a young adult with limited work experience, a returning retiree that may need some upskilling or additional skills, or someone that's been recently incarcerated or justice involved. They all experience the job seeker journey differently, but they're all experiencing the job seeker journey. And so we know that their journey looks like they identify that they have a job need. They know they either need better employment or need employment. They need to access the workforce partners. That is where the tool that I'm going to show you comes into play. So WPC.work, they're able, if they don't know where to get started, they can go to that tool, answer 7 questions, and then it tells them exactly where they should begin their workforce development journey or their job search journey, what organization can support them. Then they begin to receive that support, utilize resources. They identify different opportunities, participate in those opportunities, whether it's career advising, training, et cetera, and then they're able to start engaging with employers. So at that point, that's when the job seeker starts to make the match with the right side of the vision slide, which is the business side. So the ultimate goal is that we support the job seeker with the job seeker navigator to get them to that job match. So on the right side, we have the business journey. And I will show you that tool as well shortly. It's not going. All right, so the vision, here we go. It's going. All right, so this is the business side. So very similar to the job seeker journey on the business side, depending on what type of business or employer they are, whether they're a large, big corporation, medium-sized business, the public sector, small business, micro business, or a startup, they're going to have different experiences with trying to get engaged with talent sourcing, finding job seekers, finding the talent that they need for their business. And so we created the tool, and it will, our next step on launching that tool is, in partnership with the Alliance and others, we are going to identify a small number of businesses that could participate in a small pilot. We would really like for the businesses, small business, or a small group of businesses of various sizes and various types of businesses to participate in this pilot prior to actually launching and making it live. So that is the next step, and it should happen within the next couple of months. But the idea is, right now, a business determines that they need talent, they need job seekers, they need staff. And so the goal is that they would make a plan to meet that need, they create the position, then they need to really start recruiting talent, but they don't know where to start. And so we do have agreement that the Alliance, City and County, as well as others, the Charlotte Executive Leadership Council, this will be a joint effort to launch this platform once it is ready to go live. But ultimately, this platform will then support businesses of where to begin their journey of looking for talent or whatever resource that they need. And so then it's the job match. So going back to this, the vision slide, I mentioned that we've all really come together. Some of the more tangible, before I go into demoing the platform, I do want to share some of the more tangible activities that we've done. So ultimately creating the WPC.work site, a portal or a site, a tool, a technology tool that job seekers and businesses can both utilize. They can both access that in order to get access to the services that they need. That is something that we all came together to agree on. So a couple of years ago, even a year or so ago, you remember there were going to be multiple workforce development portals, multiple job seeker portals, multiple business portals. And so this is a very simple tool that we've all agreed on can be that first access point or step for both job seekers and businesses to use. We did partner on, I mentioned the Workforce Development Summit. So rather than having multiple summits in an effort to really bridge the gap between business and workforce providers, making sure that the providers really are training and producing the talent that our local businesses say that they need, we agreed to have one workforce summit and all come together to inform what that agenda should look like. And so that was in May. The next one will be in September. We have also all come together to share who and what we're funding in the workforce development space. And so prior to a year ago, whether it was business, so whether it's through their corporate social responsibility arms or through their philanthropic, city, county, Charlotte Works, we're all funding workforce development programs in Mecklenburg County, but not necessarily sharing that information with each other to make sure that funding is going toward the activities and the programs that we're prioritizing. Are we prioritizing funds to train and provide education programs in the industries that are thriving, or the industries that are in demand in Mecklenburg County? Are we aligning around outcomes? Are we aligning around making sure that these programs are leading to industry-recognized credentials? And so now I can tell you that, yes, we are. We are sharing that information. We are really aligning around that. So no more, kind of train and pray that, people complete training and then we hope that they get a job. We are ensuring that all of the providers that are a part of the Workforce Providers Network, that are a part of the funded programs that we're supporting, that they are accredited, they lead to industry-recognized credentials, and that we are sharing that information across organizations to ensure that we have aligned outcomes, aligned funding priorities. All right. So those are some of the more tangible. Now I'm going to, okay, I guess I can do it like this. So I will show you the sites. You can go to, I'm going to show you the workforce providers, or the job seeker tool first. It is live, so you can also access that one. It has been live for about a year now. But if I'm a resident or I'm a job seeker and I need access to, I know that I need help with finding employment, but I don't know where to go. They can go to wpc.work, and they're able to click on, well, if you scroll down, you're able to see all of the organizations that are a member of this site. So that is something that I did not share. So there are, the Workforce Providers Council are the current members of this site. So it is about 15 organizations in Mecklenburg County are the current members. And so when a job seeker completes the assessment, those are the organizations that are going to come up on the back end for them to access services. So if I click on looking for work, I am able to see if I'm looking for work today. Then if I click on open jobs, this will take me to the Charlotte Works career maps, where it shows our, 6 industries that are in demand. And then I'm able to click on those, and it'll take me to jobs that are currently posted today in those, the jobs that are currently posted that align with the career map. So I clicked on healthcare, I can click on nursing assistant. It's going to take me to LinkedIn. You don't have to have a profile. I can scroll through and see all of the jobs that are currently posted in LinkedIn today that align with the career map. So I could just click on that if I'm looking for work. If I need support, if I need access to a career advisor or someone to help me, I'm able to click here. This is the job seeker assessment. It has 7 questions. They're very basic questions: first name, last name, email, phone number, and then preferred method of contact. Oh, I think it's going to make me go through. Okay. And then I'm able to start really answering the questions that will help get me to the best first door, is what we like to say. So I'm a Mecklenburg County resident. Is my household income under $45,000? Am I currently receiving public assistance such as SNAP or TANF or Medicaid? Do I have SSI, disability, homeless, younger than 25 years old, criminal background, single parent? So I'm able to answer those questions. And then what is my top priority? Am I interested in training? Do I have other needs like housing, transportation, childcare? If I need immediate income, that means I need rapid employment to support my family. And then next, you're able, it's a field where they can just kind of free type. I submit it, and I didn't complete it, but it'll pop up to tell me exactly where to go first. On the back end, my team receives what that person completed. Then we also see it, and we make sure that they're connected to the organization that it said that they should connect to. Then, let's see. All right. So either career maps with current jobs, the job seeker assessment if I need support and assistance. And then we also have, in partnership with Mecklenburg County over the last year, we have Mecklenburg County resources. And so you're able to click here and you are able to see what are the external programs that Mecklenburg County funds, workforce programs, what are the internal workforce development programs, such as Unified Workforce Development, and then current job openings that are county positions. So it'll take you to the county position page. So that is this site. And then, let's see, I'm going to go to this one. All right, so this is the employer, or if I'm looking for funding. And so this is the one that is not live as of yet, but we will do a small pilot in the next couple of months and then ultimately make it live. And so I shared, we hear oftentimes that businesses don't know where to start either. And so this is an opportunity for us to have a joint kind of marketing and outreach plan to share this out to the businesses. And so I would start this application by saying, what is my organization name, address, who do I want the point of contact to be within my organization, who is the point of contact for workforce needs or workforce development needs, what is the type of organization, I'm either a nonprofit or for-profit, and then what industry am I in, I select that, a brief description, and then the purpose of the application. So these are the two different avenues. If I'm an organization and I'm applying for workforce development funding, I will click on that. Or if I'm a business and I need business services related to workforce development, so I'm going to choose that one. Business services request. What services am I interested in? Talent acquisition, recruitment and assistance, employee training and upskilling, apprenticeship or internship programs, workforce planning and consulting, labor market information and analysis, access to economic development incentives. So I can click that. What is my biggest talent need? Sourcing skilled labor, or do I have an issue with retaining talent? I can select that. Describe the workforce development needs. And then we are going to ask, what is their policy on second chance employment? Either they are willing, maybe for certain, they have certain exemptions, or they're not willing to hire. Labor market do they need labor market information? If so, they would put that on there. And then are there any occupations, industries that they'd like to know more about? What are their upskilling or reskilling needs? Do they have incumbent workers that need to be upskilled or reskilled? And then do they need hiring incentives? And then this is just giving consent to share this with the organizations that will be a part of this collaborative. It submits, and then our team, a business services representative, receives this application and is able to direct that business to the best first place to triage them. So these are the two technology tools. The portal, or the job seeker side, the resident side, has launched. We do have job seekers that access it regularly, and we send them to you. Many of them go to Eric Ortega, the Unified Workforce Development Program, as well as our NC Works Career Center. So typically, our NC Works Career Center tends to be the first stop, because we are able to provide the broad general services in the community to job seekers, and then we immediately triage them to the next place that's best for them. But job seekers are using it. I will also share that we do have a joint marketing and outreach plan and strategy that we are currently actively launching. So you will start to see more kind of flyers, one-pagers, social media, other places. We are also going to have little cards that look like a business card for you all or anyone in the community that can, a job seeker or a business can scan a QR code, so you could hand those out. We're going to have like window clings, signs for job fairs, hiring events, and all of the physical locations. The libraries are one of our really strong partners, and so we also will have outreach materials there too to really launch the two platforms once the business side launches. So I hope that I provided you all with an update on where things are. All things workforce development is now under the umbrella of Charlotte Works. No more pop-up stuff. So here we are. Questions?
Thank you, Anna. You said that with such a great smile.
I did.
I think a lot of people are happy to hear that. I suspect there's going to be a lot of questions. What I'd like to do first is go to our newest commissioner, Commissioner Townsend Ingram, and we'll let her tee us up.
Thank you. It was an excellent presentation, and I'm so excited to see this because I'm probably one of those that is most recently have experience in job search. So I had a lot of questions, but I'm going to limit them to ones that I think are probably most relevant. For instance, the first thing that came to mind was talent pool. Both for the business side and for our side. We had such a great meeting last night with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. I'm wondering if there is opportunity to do tracks. You know, like when my son was going to North Meck, he had an automotive track. And so, you know, you link with organizations and you know, even part of his curriculum was geared towards that. So that's number one. Number two, just for user friendliness, is there a survey after the person uses it to say, you know, what worked? What didn't work? What did you have problems with? Or is there a little pop-up that says, do you need help now? You can either call, because most people don't like to see that little box that says, text me now if you want help. Or if there's a number. For the business side, is there a way for you to ask the business before they even jump into this, what is your minimal experience, so that when people are logging on, they need to know that I'm not going to go here and waste my time applying for a job when I don't have the necessary qualifications. So minimal experience or minimal education, and can it be one, you know, in lieu of the other? Yeah, I think those are the biggest questions I had, sorry.
Yes, no, you're fine. And, you know, I didn't go into the overview of like everyone that's participating in all things. But I will say to your question about Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, so the deputy superintendent is on our board of directors, and we are working very closely with them on their education to employment pathway. And so as well as career and technical education, but also pathways that go above and beyond just the career and technical education track. And so we are working with them to, that is also a part of the industry commitment. So I said the three things that we're, you know, moving toward now is having industry-led commitments on hiring. CMS is a part of that. Also in creating the tracks or the kind of the academies or true career pathways, we're helping to inform those by providing the labor market information, but then also, you know, helping businesses to better engage with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. Oftentimes businesses don't know, who do I call, where do I start? And so helping businesses to better engage. And then also your question about a phone number. So I did go to this. Yes, there is a phone number for the kind of the site for job seekers. Whenever they call that number, that gets them to a triage. So people are able to call the phone number versus using this site if that is what they need. Your question about jobs and minimal experience, that is one of the things that, so I am also looking to, I actually, right before this, just had a meeting with both city and county economic development around potentially dedicating a team member to really work with the economic development teams in a workforce development capacity. So really bridging the gap between workforce development and economic development. And to your point, you know, really supporting what is it that the businesses actually need. A job description or a job posting might list all 10 of these things, but if you actually look at the job, it doesn't require all of that. It may not require a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree. Maybe there's something specific or technical that it requires and so much experience. And so those are some of the pieces that that's something that we do now that we're working through, but in kind of community-wide, big picture, that's something that we're looking at and working toward too.
Thank you.
Yes, that's a part of the career pathways piece.
Other questions? Commissioner Griffin?
Thank you. And I've had a couple of conversations with you, and I'm absolutely excited and impressed with your enthusiasm. What concerns me, and I brought this with me because my communication skills are getting a little lax, so I figured I'd bring this to help me.
Okay.
We have the absolute best intentions. We have the best in terms of potential in Mecklenburg County. And it's almost like the education discussion. It all goes in here, but somehow or another, we forget about the holes in the process. That's called the accountability piece. So you don't get CTE from CMS that's wired into Central Piedmont's training program because you're isolated, but potentially it could be. The partners of city, the county, and the business community up top, right? City and the county gives grants to businesses all the time, okay? Whether it's Atrium or Siemens or whatever it is. They go out and hunt their talent from someplace else.
Right.
And they've been doing that. So I'm really concerned about what you've said philosophically sounds excellent. How do we make sure, how is there some accountability to execution? Because I reached out to the Census Bureau before coming here today. In 2023, we in-migrated over 11,000 residents to Mecklenburg County. 8,700 were international. So we in-migrating our talent. So are we bold enough to interrupt the current system is what I'm trying to say. How do we interrupt Lowe's, interrupt Atrium's Pearl, interrupt Siemens? Who's going to do that interruption? Is it the CELC? It's going to be Anna. Okay. All right. Well, just remember what I said with this jug here.
Yes.
There are holes in there, and somehow or another, help us help you to interrupt the system, because systemically, those things are continuing to roll. And the last time you were here, or 2 years ago, we talked about the Pearl, where Gene Woods talks about 3,500 jobs, 1,500 won't need a 4-year degree, but will need training. The Pearl is coming. So where is that in the pipeline 18 months from now, where people can say, I need help and train to get that job? Because if we wait till Pearl comes on board, they're going to get their talent. Thank you.
So I'll give a brief response. I will report back to you on that. I have heard you loud and clear in our last couple of conversations. And right before this, we actually had a meeting, economic development and workforce development, to talk about those exact things. In full transparency, we have not always truly collaborated on tangible activities whenever it comes to bridging the gap and talent sourcing for the businesses from an economic development perspective. And so we have had the meeting, we had a couple of hours ago, and we have a lot of action items coming out of that, but to your point, accountability. So I will report back to you on changes that will be coming to ensure that workforce development is a significant part of our economic development efforts in Mecklenburg County, and that local residents have access to jobs that are here, or that we're preparing local residents for those jobs if and when it's available and appropriate.
Commissioner Rodriguez-McDowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Anna, for that presentation. So a couple of questions, and because I'm afraid of the bell, I'm going to just get them out, okay, and then you could respond. So is there anything about wages tied to this programming for the industry? We have these industry-led pathways, and are they committing to living wage or anything like that? That's number one. Number two, is this, are the jobs on here of a vertical nature? Like, are there, jobs at the entry level and then jobs at other levels too? Okay, so it includes,
Yes.
Mobility there. And then one of the things in your example, you clicked on health, I think, healthcare, and then I'm pretty sure I saw Cabarrus County pop up on the screen, like a job, like that was the job, was a Cabarrus County Healthcare or something. And so I thought, is this like a regional thing, or is it specifically jobs in Mecklenburg County? Or is it because we know people can't afford to live in Mecklenburg County, so we're trying to help them get jobs outside of our county? Said a little tongue-in-cheek. Those are my questions.
Yes.
Right now, thank you.
So the way that this, well, let me answer your first question. So wages, career pathways. So we're looking at industry-led, industry-sponsored, supported career pathways in the full sense. So from reasonable, realistic, but appropriate wages, also to what does it look like for someone to actually navigate that career pathway. So if we use healthcare as an example, if someone wants to, they're a CNA, but they want to become an RN, it is extremely difficult to go from being a CNA to an RN if it's not supported by your company in some way, shape, or form. So whether it's you may need supportive services, wraparound support like childcare, transportation assistance, the actual program to go from CNA to RN, that program costs money. And then it would also be really difficult to work full-time and be in a full-time nursing program. And so all of that is what we're discussing with industry, so that as we continue to build out and advance true career pathways, we want them to be industry-led, industry-supported, and industry-sponsored. So what can that look like from business to business or across industries? Some employers they have programs and they're able to pay for someone to get there to become an RN or a BSN. They may allow them to work less hours because they're in school full-time. And so really expanding those across the industry and across multiple industries. And then really quick, so the career maps, our career maps take you to LinkedIn, and it's the Charlotte Metro is what is identified. So it's our entire metro area of jobs that'll come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I just want to conclude by saying I really appreciate how you've, since the last time we met, you've got all of this, pulled together.
Thank you.
And I understand that's a huge undertaking. So thank you so much for what you've done to pull this together. It seems really tremendous. I'm looking forward to what you're going to do with it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you. So I'm going to do the same thing, get my questions out before the bell, so you can ask me to repeat them if you need to. So the first question I have is just simple and it shows my age. But when the LinkedIn pops up, like if I was on there, for me, I would think, oh, well, I don't have LinkedIn, I can't do this. So are you stuck there? The second question is, how do you find the micro businesses to be part of this, like it was listed? And so that's really important to me because we have so many. And as far as the wages, it would be difficult to have a micro business commit to a livable wage and still survive. So I appreciated your answer. And then the last thing was, I really appreciate what Commissioner Griffin said, because the county investment in anything needs to benefit county taxpayers. And so, for instance, the Pearl will find their talent. With the county investment, we hope that the Pearl finds their talent here. So that's everything right there.
Okay.
Anna, excuse me before you answer. Please stop the clock, Madam Clerk. I want my colleagues to know one thing. Workforce development is one of our priorities. We don't need to rush through this conversation. I just thought about that. If there are some burning questions, let's do a round two. This is one of our priorities, so let's slow it down. Let's make it happen. I'll keep us on time, but round two, we won't do 3 minutes. We'll figure that out. But just know that we're going to come back around, so get your questions ready so that we can make sure that we go back and get in depth. But this is one of our priorities, so it's important for us to have this discussion. I apologize, Anna. I apologize, Commissioner Powell.
Thank you.
Start the clock, Madam Clerk.
All right, thank you. So your question about LinkedIn, received, I understand that. So the idea is that this can be but there's opportunity to make revisions and to continue to make it better. Real quick, I will say too, that is something about me. I think in order to, I don't want to just sit on something and never launch it until it's perfect, because then we have things that never happen and they're this beautiful portfolio that's on a shelf and we never actually implement it. And so for it's a very simple tool. The goal was a year ago, launch it and continue to make it better. And so always open for feedback on that. So I will say the idea of this is really, if someone wants to just go and navigate open jobs all on their own, that's who hopefully would click on this. For anyone that actually needs support, do you need additional skills and development or additional support to get into a career instead of a job? The idea is hopefully, and maybe we need to make the language more clear, but they would click here and actually go and be connected to a career advisor. And so if I'm someone that needs help with navigating all of the different systems and tools and where to go, I would actually go here to the assessment because I need more help and support. And then, of course, here's the resources. So the idea is there's kind of 3 places that people can navigate on this site. They can go navigate jobs all on their own on LinkedIn if they're comfortable. If not, then they need support, and they would click on this and actually get more support and kind of more hand-holding to support that. And then micro businesses. So we do, your question about micro businesses, we, at Charlotte Works, as the Workforce Board, we partner with a significant number of micro businesses in the community, but we also partner with the Business Advisory Committee here in Charlotte to support micro businesses. We work alongside the Alliance to help support micro businesses, and then we also do outreach. And so we, in partnership with Department of Commerce, we will receive who are current registered, micro businesses, and we're able to do some outreach as well. We also go to our business services team, goes to kind of networking opportunities in the community for small and micro businesses. So it's through relationships and just kind of navigating the places that they already are or the groups that they're already members of. And you're correct about not all businesses, micro, small especially, are going to be able to afford the higher minimum wage jobs. And that's the reality of it. And so we are we're not exclusive. Like, we do invite in all businesses across the full spectrum. And then it's up to us to try to find ways, what are other kind of incentives that we could help that business to still attract talent, even if the wages are not the best part of the job? Are there other perks, that would make a job seeker choose that job? Was that all?
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love the streamlining. You've done a great job. I think it's so simple. It's easy to use. I know that took a lot of time, and thank you for that. So do you, to what Commissioner Griffin was saying about the Pearl and Siemens and all that, do you already have partnerships with those specific companies? And in my mind, they're so specific, and it seems to me that they already have their own training, they already have their own system. I mean, can you just refer them, or are they looking to something like this for job placement?
Yes,
or
so
talent.
For the Pearl, TBD, I have had conversations. For Siemens, yes, we do have a relationship on both sides, like we're helping to refer students, candidates, job seekers that are completing local programs. Central Piedmont has a program, or has multiple programs, great programs that produce the talent that's needed at Siemens. We've also supported Siemens in some of their talent sourcing over the last, probably 7 years. So as they expand or they're looking for specific roles and specific skills, we do support them in that.
Okay.
Yep.
And just to clarify, there is a human being at the end of all this, right?
There is.
Okay.
Yes.
Because it's so hard for people to go out, look for a job, and really everything's online now, and it's frustrating. I have a son who just went through it, and it's just tough.
It is.
So there's a human being at some point.
Yes, there's a human being behind all of the programs that are a part of the WPC collaborative. And so there is a person, multiple people, but there is a person that receives all of the information that job seekers put into this system. And to your point, that is something that has been a significant challenge for job seekers. We are seeing and hearing from job seekers regularly that they're applying for hundreds of jobs and not receiving any feedback. And so it really does take having a person that's helping you navigate. It takes social capital. It takes relationships at this point to get jobs. That's kind of where the labor market is. I realized I did not answer a question earlier too. So a survey. So we do send quarterly an email to all of the individuals that have put their information in WPC.work to ask them if they received what they needed. It's a very quick survey that we send every job seeker that registers on this site to ask for what they needed, and also gives them a phone number to contact someone if they want to have a conversation.
Commissioner Altman.
Thank you, Anna. I really think that this is a big improvement with the portal and the tool. And I think it's enormously important that you've been able to corral 7 or 8 or 15 or 50 providers in the community to convene, because that's how we start to make improvement. That's step one. It was only step one, but it was a hard first step, and I commend you for it. Let's remember why we do this. 1 in 3 Mecklenburg County residents, more than 300,000 people, are either Medicaid eligible or actually receiving Medicaid services. I take that as a very a challenge to me in my role. That number is far too high. We have far too many of our neighbors who need support to get by. And I feel like this is job number one for us here on the board of, for me, it's my job number one, and I think it's so related to all of our goals. If I'm understanding correctly, your main goal, and you can pull up that slide again, is closing job skills gaps. And I think that is good and commendable, but I think it is a little too limited. In that I recently was reading the North Carolina Commerce Secretary noting that economic development projects follow the talent pipeline, which needs to stay top notch. And I'm not really hearing in the goal that you said that kind of planning, like what is our talent pipeline other than CPCC? Who is generating skilled workers? And for what specific trades and employers and industries? Where are the main industries that our talent pipeline is feeding? I think you're dealing with a slightly different part of the ecosystem, and in that part of the ecosystem needs attention. But this other piece I'm talking about, so we can attract the next Amazon or the next whoever, so that, hearkening to our meeting last night with the school board, we can create more revenue so that we can have more money to keep up with inflation, cost of living, so we can continue to fund these services that are so important to our residents. I'm not clear that this vision is really on top of the talent pipeline to attract great employers. And I'm frustrated by the conversation in the room about Atrium, because, gosh darn it, I sure do recall them making this promise to us when we gave them the economic incentive to build out the Pearl, which I'm super excited about. I think it's fantastic, and we needed to do it. But I recall promises and assurances around jobs for our residents, and I feel like we're hitting start, reset on the conversation as if we're going to them to ask them to please do this here in 2025, when I believe that commitment was made long ago. That's not your problem. That's a problem that I have outside this conversation. But I'll pause and see if you can talk about the pipeline, the talent pipeline.
Yes, and so to your point, this really was, over the last year, and I hate to even say it takes that long, but it does take time. This really was the first step. So to really pull together everyone so that we didn't have multiple competing priorities and duplication all over the place. And so, the second, really we are, yes, closing job skills gaps, but also as a second, not a second phase, as part of all of this, is really pulling together the talent providers or educational institutions. And not just educational institutions, but educational institutions that are above and beyond kind of this bucket, workforce providers. So think UNC Charlotte, Queens, Johnson C. Smith, but also there are groups and spaces and places in our community where people that are higher skilled kind of congregate, or places that they go to network or to navigate, kind of the job market. They're not going to some of these workforce providers that are serving or individuals that have more significant barriers. So to your point, it's, going above and beyond kind of the population, the initial job seeker personas that we have spent, that do require, additional touch. Those that you mentioned that are on public assistance, absolutely. And so that is a part of what we're working on now, to the response that I gave earlier about more to come, but kind of the disruption between workforce development, economic development, not necessarily working collaboratively together as well as we could and should. And I'm just being transparent, on me. And so that is something that we are moving forward with. And so in order to really know, who are you recruiting? Who are you currently working with? What is their demand? Yes, we can, we provide them on what does the current talent look like in our community, like what are our universities producing, but sometimes it's above and beyond. There's people coming out of other universities coming back to Charlotte. How do we have a pulse on that as well for the jobs that we're also recruiting? So more to come on that, but yes, it is much larger than just, kind of corralling and bringing everyone together. That's step one, but in order to really be successful around business engagement, doing what the businesses need in the community, we also have to have a pulse on and have a hub of where is all of the other, talent at. People that are currently working full-time that could be poached or that could move to a different business if they were to come into Mecklenburg County. So all of that is new conversation, but it is happening. It's being disrupted.
All right, we're going to do a round two, 90 seconds. Madam Clerk, everyone should have their questions written down. I'm going to ask that everybody kind of do a rapid fire. The next presentation is pretty lengthy. So we can, to the extent we can do a rapid fire, and Anna, if you can condense the answers and possibly follow up with written responses, that would be helpful also. We'll start with Commissioner Townsend Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Data. In order to move forward, we need to put it in and be building it in and understanding the data that we can extract from this, from both businesses. That means tracking people from beginning, from start, whether you start at CMS or CPCC or wherever you start, from beginning to where they are when they get the job, and then how long they stay at the job, retainment, all of that. Is there a mechanism in there to do that?
Yes. So we do a lot of tracking now. So anyone that accesses any of these program services, these tools that I've shown you today, will be tracked. Like all of that is definitely being tracked. As we move forward with the industry commitments over the next couple of months, and even truly building out career pathways, tracking and data will be a part of that. But happy to have a conversation to make sure that, what we have access to and then what we could track. But yes, that is absolutely a part of it.
I don't.
Yes, this is for county manager primarily. The chair wants to be transformative and disrupt the system. When I recall the contracts that Dr. Johnson sent to me from some of the other business investment pieces, we do things jointly a lot with the city in terms of economic development. I recall in one of the contracts, the city has an appendix where it says, check off the blank. Will you work with our human resources or workforce development? Yes, you get more bennies, no. And one of the businesses checked no, but we still work with them. Is there any way, or what's the process where we can go upstream and talk to the city so that the contracts will be similarly, as they negotiate with firms, that they'll be willing to work with this new workforce development process? Can we can we work with the city to see if they'll work with us to sort of change or include at least the opportunity with an appendix or something, so that the potential job corporation can say, yes, I'm going to work with your workforce development?
I think that's totally possible. We work together with the city all the time on all of these economic development deals, so I certainly think it's possible. And of course, the city of Charlotte is involved in this effort as well, so I think that's totally possible.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I also want to just advocate for human touch points, because every time we're talking about any kind of a group of citizens who need something, it is, I just noticed, like, the more touch points there are, the more likely there is to be success. And I just don't know what's happening to the world with all this AI and no touch points and answering machines. So I'm advocating for the touch points, and if you need more, let us know. Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like for you to consider with your board, Ms. London, expanding the vision to include this conversation we had about the pipeline. I hope that CMS is on your board because they need good. You know, I want us to know as a community and as a board, what are the big sectors we're trying to attract to Mecklenburg County? I can't answer that question. I ought to be able to. I hope you can help me. I would like to see the business plan that your board approves every 4 years and updates. So if you could provide that to us, I'd like for you, if you could, follow up with a percentage of the number of residents that you have had touch points with, what percentage of them have resulted in jobs, and at what salary, if we could get the data around that. And if it's appropriate, would love to get an invitation to your upcoming September summit. And then I think you said that there was a March CELC presentation that if it's appropriate, I'd love to get the invitation to that just so I can continue to learn as this develops. Thank you.
I will keep you posted.
So, Anna, one, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for your responses. One of the things that's abundantly clear is this is a really, really heavy lift. Not only is it a heavy lift, but it's something that's important to this board and obviously other entities. I think one of the things or the themes that you hear or that we're hearing is that there's still question marks about execution, about the ability to reach the folks that we are most concerned about. And so I think it's going to be important for this board to have a consistent update or touch point with you. I think we can discuss that, but I think we need to understand when we'll be 100% operational. I think we need to understand how many people we are going to touch. Like, what's the capacity of your team? I don't think I'm really sure when we put up a number of 28,000 as an opportunity in just one vertical. And then we had these other verticals, that were equaling something to like 50,000. So, I mean, is that something reasonably that you can support? What do we think that pipeline looks like, particularly with respect to our underemployed? Also, when I look at the tool, we're asking them about SNAP and we're asking about TANF, and I think that's great. Are we providing them with any visibility to additional resources that may be available as they transition, right? What else is available to them while they're embarking on, to some, I believe, would be somewhat scary, a journey, right? I'm trying to crack this equation of economic mobility. And I have a family, and I have all these other competing priorities, and as I'm trying to move forward, what does that look like? So I'm wondering if there's any sort of ability for us to make sure that, there's a landing page that they can go to that, with the county that reflects maybe resources.
Yep, there is.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm also, I want to touch base with Eric as well, because I'm really curious when we look, Eric, and not to answer this now, but I'll circle back with you, and this is something I want to put out to the board. But when we think about the link between the portal between what you do and then the link between our HR department, you know, I really want to understand that people are really going to come through the door and get a job, you know, as it relates to the county, stuff that we can control. I mean, obviously, there's external forces that, you know, obviously, we're talking about Atrium, we're talking about some other things, but as it relates to what you're doing, how much control do you have as far as looking at, you know, these applicants that are coming in and helping place them? So, you know, I really want to understand, if we're just funneling people to an HR department and then we, you know, they go into the abyss, it's going to be a miss. Because there's a lot of people applying for different jobs, they don't hear and all this other stuff. And so I want to be able to track who is being connected to jobs. And particularly as it relates to our board, those folks that are, you know, our closest constituents. So I know I threw a lot at you. Again, I'm not expecting a response, but I do think, one, the board would appreciate an update. We really need to understand when we're going to be 100% operational, and then what the data looks like in the tracking. And the final point that I'll make, and certainly appreciate you being here and the work that you're doing, we do need to get with not just Atrium. So I want to be really clear, right? This board, we've done deals with a lot of people in this community. So we're probably going to have to look at coming in, seeing where we are with a lot of our partners, not just Atrium. I mean, you know, the Pearl is important, but we've got to expand this out. So we've got a lot of work to do. We've got to dig in, and we'll have an opportunity during the retreat to, you know, discuss this in more depth. So thank you for being here.
Sure. I'll just give one really quick.
Sure.
So as far as when everything is live, so the job seeker portion of this is live. That is operational. It's happening. Job seekers are using it. The business side, I will provide an update, and I would also welcome the opportunity to be able to provide, you know, regular updates in whatever capacity is the most appropriate. And we could talk about, you know, of course, what that looks like, whether it's something that I share and send over, or if it's, you know, meeting with you all regularly to provide updates. After March, there will be a lot more business-driven updates, because that's when the commitment is happening. And I do just want to share really briefly, we are also working in partnership with Queens, the Center for Digital Equity, on a site. It's built, but it's not live, and I don't know that I could show it, but a site that actually connects all of the different navigators in the community. We have housing navigators, career navigators. We have all of these different navigators in the community that are helping with their specific niche. And they need to know what's going on in the other world so that they can best serve that person or that household. And so to the question about navigators and a person, we're working with Bruce Clark and his team on that now.
Well, thank you. To the extent that you can send, you know, written updates, and then I'll work with the manager on, you know, when we want to have you in person, but to the extent that you can send the written
Perfect.
updates to the entire board, let us know. That would be great.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
It's
thank you.
fantastic. Madam Manager, I'll let you tee up the next presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item on our agenda is an update on our Equity Action Plan Progress Report, and LaShawn Carter, our Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer, will come to the podium and make that presentation.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Pull this up really quickly. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll try to be as efficient as possible. Thank you for the opportunity to share this update on our progress in implementing our Equity Action Plan. In many ways, this update has been a long time coming, but I'm excited to share with you a number of our accomplishments and provide you with some insights for the road ahead. I want to thank Amanda Joyner and Ebony Lewis for their tireless work on behalf of our team. This process has made working alongside such dedicated and passionate professionals more rewarding. Now, if you've seen me present before, you will note that I always lead with this image. The reason that is because I believe that the prism that equity work passes is often through the prism of justice. While we know that there are many forms of justice and public service, for me, the three that, when overlapped, produce the most sustainable outcomes are environmental justice, economic justice, and social justice. As we spend the next few minutes together, I invite you to allow these spheres of influence to rest in the back of your mind as they, in one way or another, inform all that we do. Today, I will provide you with an overview of our equity perspective, a review of our Equity Action Plan 1.0, which covered the fiscal years of 2020 through 2023. And then we'll transition into our plan for FY 2025 and beyond. Excuse me. It would be an understatement on my part to say that the national discourse surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion has intensified, particularly with significant developments in the political and corporate arenas. In states across the country, there have been concerted efforts to dismantle DEI programs, particularly within educational institutions. In May 2024, the University of North Carolina System's Board of Governors voted to repeal its existing diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. That led to the UNC system universities eliminating 59 DEI-related positions and realigning 131 others. This move aligns with a broader national trend which public universities in states like Texas, Florida, and Michigan have undertaken similar actions, often in response to legislative changes or shifts in public policy. For instance, the University of Missouri, which had implemented extensive DEI initiatives following racial unrest in 2015, has recently seen their programs eradicated. This counters the broader observation that many of the initiatives that predate the response to the death of George Floyd that are impervious to the momentum of this dismantling movement. Additionally, major corporations are reevaluating and in some cases rolling back their DEI initiatives as well. We've seen companies like Meta, Amazon, Walmart, McDonald's, Harley-Davidson, and others reduce or end their DEI efforts in response to this momentum and social pressure. However, despite these rollbacks, a significant portion of the American public continues to support DEI initiatives. Despite the loud exit of these few corporations, there remains a critical mass of corporations like Target, Costco, Apple, and many others who remain committed to these efforts. Having said that, the growing political and public scrutiny has led to a complex and evolving landscape for these programs, which means we will all need to be more intentional about the language we use and the strategies we implement. With that being said, or perhaps because of all of this, I'd like to take a moment to level set some of the key terms that are used most frequently, as in this moment in time, the terms related to this work are being propagated to misinform, sow confusion, or generally misused in ways that sow discord and do nothing to advance nuanced discourse. Understanding key equity terms is fundamental when considering the realities of environmental, racial, and social justice. There are two ways to understand these equity terms. One is by their technical definition, and two, by how they shape our behaviors and cultural interactions. There are 6 terms we most frequently use in our equity work. This is by no means an exhaustive list. However, as we go through the remaining presentation, or when you hear from me going forward, these terms are most frequently used, as I shared earlier. Culture. Culture is the set of practices and beliefs shared by members of a particular group that distinguishes that group from others. Culture is dynamic. It is formed by the members of a group and can cross many forms of difference. As members leave the group, the culture shifts. And as new members join, the culture shifts as well, which leads to dominant culture. Dominant cultures are cultures that are readily visible, while others may be hidden and not apparent. Dominant culture is not meant to be confused with racial dominance. Dominant culture is only meant to communicate the presence of difference. Dominance based on this presence is the set of circumstances that exist to set cultural norms, expectations, and shared values that is defined by the dominant group. And this dominant group can be based on race, gender, heteronormative identity, religion, and many other forms of difference. Equality, the act of ensuring that every individual has an equal opportunity to make the most of their lives and talents, or the state of being equal, especially in status, rights, and opportunities. And then there's equity. Not to be confused with equality, equity means the requisite allocation of resources in response to the specific needs of a group. I wanted to spend a little more time on equality and equity because in recent years, images like the one on the screen pit equality and equity against each other in ways that undermine and create problematic understandings of each. This notion suggests that equity is superior to equality. Well, perhaps superior is too strong a word, as I think equity derives from equality, as there was a time when the fight for equality as a basic human right was the right fight. Upon the achievement of that, it unlocks our potential to become more nuanced in the presence of our differences and the supports we provide to a community. The requisite allocation of the right resources to the right person at the right time is the hallmark of a strong equity-forward approach. This is why I say that in public service, we are all equity professionals, because we don't choose the people we serve, but we are required to serve them well and based on their unique needs. And when that is true, access to resources is equal, but the allocation should be equitable. Inclusion is the act of including and accommodating people historically excluded because of their race, gender, sexuality, age, religion, ability, or any other form of difference. I once read somewhere that talent in our country is distributed equally, but opportunity is not. In an organization where inclusion is considered, we are thinking about all of the ways we expand access to opportunities and explore ways to include all of our stakeholders to ensure their lived experiences are considered whenever we make any choice on behalf of others or create the spaces we all share. Lastly is race. Although widely understood today as a social construct and originally referred to groups who shared cultural things in common, the idea that race was once treated as a matter that people could be characterized by their physical features and was used to justify the subjugation and oppression of people of color and perpetuate the domination of the white race. Race is a political and social construct that continues to evolve. Racial categories continue to change over time, place, and context. Historically, race has been used to establish a social hierarchy whereby individuals are treated differently, resulting in racism. In America, we socially arrived at race as a construct for dominance and justification for the social atrocities of the transatlantic slave trade. And prior to the 1600s, the complexion of one's skin was primarily used as a descriptor and not as a designation. There exist more terms and frameworks that inspires and informs our work, but due to time, we can't share them all. But we can share them as a supplemental resource or come back and share further. So back to justice. Disrupting systemic and structural barriers requires a diverse and nuanced approach to addressing the vast complexities of a dynamic system. Our recognition that the prism of justice influences our efforts supports this work's sustainability. So what is environmental justice? And you've heard from Aaron Stanforth talking about this often, but as you are aware, our efforts in response to the notion of environmental justice is well researched and established with the passage of the Environmental Leadership Action Plan in March of 2021. I will not spend much time on this here, but wanted to bring it into focus as the environment is often left out of equity conversations, but that is not the case as my office partners with our environmental stewardship team regularly and intentionally. What is economic justice? We also observe economic opportunity as critical to our equity work, and you will hear more about that in a moment. However, at the upcoming board retreat, we will go deeper than we have time for today on our economic opportunity work as we talk about our MWSBE efforts as well as our equity investment and generational wealth pilots. So there's social justice. Social justice is the cornerstone of our equity work as it covers the broad array of needs related to a society's health, wellness, and fairness. Today, as we share the progress of our equity action plan, social justice is the primary filter through which this work passes. Ultimately, three observations underpin the realities of inequity. Racial inequity looks the same across systems and is the prism through which all other forms of differences and inequities pass. Socioeconomic differences alone do not explain for these inequities, and the systems that cause inequities, regardless of people's culture or behavior. This means you can share identity, community, and lived experiences and still participate in systems that uphold inequities and systemic barriers. Before we go into details of our equity work, I'd like to take a moment to level set. Just transitioning to our county equity overview. The vision of our county equity work is that every day Mecklenburg County seeks to ensure that all people in Mecklenburg County have equitable opportunities regardless of their racial and cultural identity, where they live or their family's income level, and receive the appropriate supports and interventions to mitigate any delays in their ability to thrive in life beyond our engagement. Our mission is that every day Mecklenburg County seeks to ensure that all people in Mecklenburg County have equitable opportunities regardless of their racial and cultural identity, where they live, or their family income level, and receive the appropriate supports and interventions to mitigate any delays. I'm sorry, I'm reading that backwards. Cultural equity, eliminating the root causes of racial disparities and advancing equitable policies, practices, procedures, creating a culture of equity to meet the needs of all residents. I apologize. Our overview, the Mecklenburg County Equity Action Plan is the primary source for supporting all county departments in implementing equity practices, connecting people to opportunities, and inspiring the type of collaboration that responds to the community needs and helps fulfill our equity mission and vision. I've shared this quote before, but I wanted to revisit it, and it's from Aboriginal scholar and activist Lila Watson, and it says, "If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together." In other words, what this means is that our liberation is truly bound together, and no one is free unless all of us are free. But as the late philosopher Prodigy once said, "We're in this together. Your beef is mine." Doing the work. Many steps have been instructive to get to where we are. We have been disciplined in our approach to implementing our equity action plan, and this graphic is meant to highlight some of those steps. Following the tragic death of Keith Lamont Scott in 2016, we began working with the Government Alliance on Race and Equity to implement their VNU, or Visualize, Normalize, Organize, and Operationalize strategy. Also in 2019, the Board of County Commissioners declared racism a public health crisis, recognizing that many of the challenges our communities of color have faced over the course of our history, they are a result of generations of systemic decisions that have led to ongoing health disparities that we all face today. Also in 2019, we published our first equity action plan and began the work of implementing in 2020. This is incredibly important to note because one of the biggest challenges some communities faced when making similar declarations was the action to do something in response of this recognition. I'm proud to note that this is not the case for us. And over today's presentation, you will continue to hear about what we have done and we continue to do. And then lastly, in 2022, we made closing racial disparities a cross-cutting factor among our board priorities. None of this happens in a vacuum. Without the steadfast support and the leadership of our county manager and the deputy county managers, none of this happens the way it has. I want to publicly thank her for her leadership in service to our equity journey, and to the DCMs for leading by example as our departments engage in this meaningful work. And I want to thank you, the Board of County Commissioners, past and present, for standing up for this work and making the courageous choice of facing racial disparities one of your ongoing priorities. This level of commitment and support has brought us to this point, and I am so proud to share all of the results with you today. Racial disparities as a cross-cutting factor ensure that investments by the county focuses on closing racial and ethnic gaps so that race does not predict one's success while also improving outcomes for all. Because of this, you will observe that in most cases, many of the presentations you hear over the course of the year speak to the impact that demographic differences have on our outcomes. We'll talk about this more later, but all equity work must be embedded and seen as something that is a naturally occurring aspect of all of our work. Another way to think about that is that it serves as a cost-cutting feature in what we do and how we serve the community, which connects to the notion that we are all equity professionals in some way. So let's get into the Equity Action Plan. The approach to the Equity Action Plan and Office of Equity and Inclusion has taken to support the board's priority of racial disparities as a cost-cutting factor is through the focused implementation of the Equity Action Plan. The Equity Action Plan aligns department goals, strategies, and actions to identify goals as an enterprise. These serve as the primary drivers that support the practices that influences our practices, policies, and procedures. There are 6 goals identified in our original Equity Action Plan. These goals are aligned with national best practices and cover the 6 areas in public-facing equity work most typically identified as priority areas. Our first goal is infrastructure and tools. Mecklenburg County employees and residents have the understanding and ability to advance equity. Goal 2 is our workforce equity. Mecklenburg County will be a model employer for advancing racial equity. Goal 3, inclusive engagement. Mecklenburg County residents are engaged in the community where they live, learn, work, and recreate. Goal 4 is health equity. All residents in Mecklenburg County are healthy. Goal 5, economic opportunity. Mecklenburg County small businesses and nonprofits share in the county's economic prosperity. And then Goal 6, criminal justice. All residents in Mecklenburg County live in a more just and equitable community. Each of these are backed by strategies, actions, and key performance indicators, or KPIs, that support our alignment and accountabilities. The Comprehensive Equity Action Plan outlines several actions designed to advance equity in Mecklenburg County, and the following summarizes our results. In FY 2024, the Equity Action Plan analysis process prioritized identifying actions to help us achieve the collective vision of equity throughout our programs and services. The following section is an overview of the implementation, outcomes, and highlights from the initial plan. This graphic shows the outcome of our overall implementation of the plan, but we'll go deeper in the slides that follow. Overall, we have achieved tremendous progress toward implementing our full plan. This graphic represents the overall outcomes of Equity Action Plan implementation. 82% of the 62 actions that made up the initial plan have been completed. Of those completed actions, 45% are considered ongoing or sustained. This means that the efforts continue as part of our practice in some meaningful way. This doesn't mean that those other actions weren't sustained or sustainable. In many cases, those actions were considered one time, meaning that an action was taken and change didn't need an ongoing effort. It's like turning on a light switch. The items that are in progress or to be started are typically items that are either on hold due to capacity challenges or, in more typical cases, due to the long and lasting impact of COVID serving as a barrier. The following slides go into each goal of our Equity Action Plan and follow the similar format. Page 8 in the plan on your desk is where you can find Goal 1. Infrastructure and tools are the backbone of any efficient equity-focused system or organization. 88% of the 17 actions in this goal have been completed. Of those completed actions, 47 are considered ongoing or sustained, 12% in progress, and everything in this goal areas is either sustained, underway, or complete. For Mecklenburg County, this goal is the foundation for our operations, enabling tasks to be completed more effectively and through an equity lens. The infrastructure and tools approach is the platform for communicating our commitment, supporting our employees, developing the skills to do the work, and establishing the necessary community partnerships that sustain our efforts and ensure transparency and accountability. They also foster the environment for innovation and culture change. Ultimately, infrastructure and tools serves as the core mechanism for achieving all other equity actions. Since the winter of fiscal year 2021, 95% of Mecklenburg County has been trained during the initial phases of implementation. The advancing racial equity training has been properly baselined and calibrated for sustainability, and all new staff are trained in ARE within the first year of employment. What gets measured gets done. So by implementing well-researched and supported training, we are supporting staff in developing the skills necessary to provide world-class services to all residents through an equity lens. Over the last 3 years, we have been we have seen community perceptions of the county's equity work grow. Last month, you were provided an overview of the community survey results, where questions related to equity and inclusion continue to show positive gains year over year. In the most recent survey, the questions, Mecklenburg County honors the identity of individuals and treats them with dignity and respect, and Mecklenburg County services and programs are racially equitable, have seen gains of 11 points, or 86%, and 15 points, or 74%, respectively. As standing questions in the community survey, we will continue to track this data over time to monitor and respond to community perspectives. Goal 2, workforce equity. In Mecklenburg County, workforce equity is crucial for fostering a fair and inclusive environment where everyone has what they need to thrive. 75% of the 16 actions in this goal area have been completed. Of these completed actions, 25% are considered ongoing or sustained. Nothing is currently in progress, but 25% in this goal area remains to be started. As I mentioned previously, in most cases, this is due to competing priorities, bandwidth, and capacity challenges. We are focused on ensuring that all employees, regardless of race, gender, age, religion, ethnicity, languages spoken, or any other known or unknown identifiers, have a sense of place and belonging within all county spaces. We are committed to doing the work to harness the full potential of our employees and facilitating experiences that produce innovation, productivity, and professional and personal achievement in the presence of our differences. Understanding and responding to the needs of our employees enhances culture and climate while also producing an environment that attracts the top talent from around our county, our region, and our state. As we continue to celebrate our diversity and equity efforts, workforce equity also supports the notion of inclusion and social cohesion among county staff. Ultimately, organizations that achieve workforce equity are well positioned to serve their customers, clients, and communities well. We are closer than ever to reflecting the diversity and needs of the communities we serve. Over the last 3 years, we have included equity and inclusion prompts in the Employee Climate Survey to understand employees' perspectives related to our impact, understanding actions and supports when engaging across differences, most specifically racial and cultural differences. The data shared with you at the September 24th public policy meeting showed that performance and perspectives from our staff exceeded our expectations in the 3 critical areas of impact, understanding, and skill development. And while we have not quite met our expectations in psychological safety and candid conversations across differences, the data shows that we have a positive trend and continued opportunity to move our outcomes in the right direction. Ultimately, this data will inform ongoing policy, strategy, and training opportunities to foster a responsive and engaged working environment as a model employer advancing equity. This couldn't be done without the leadership, commitment, and partnership of the team in human resources and the Office of Strategy and Innovation. Goal 3, inclusive engagement. Fostering environments where all stakeholders have a voice and are actively involved in decision-making processes is vitally important to an inclusive and engaging culture. 82% of the 11 actions in this goal area have been completed. Of those completed actions, 28% are considered ongoing or sustained, 9% in progress, and the other 9% to be started. Our equity actions are designed to create spaces where diverse perspectives and lived experiences are valued and considered, leading to improved outcomes and stronger bonds and relationships. We are actively engaging with a wide range of stakeholders that include our employees, customers and clients, communities, and our partners and vendor organizations to enhance our ability to respond to the challenges we share and support each other in the ways that make a real difference. As our equity work has advanced, it has become evident that when our internal and external stakeholders can see themselves in the choices we make, they are more likely to engage with us as we continue to modify our services to the community and support our employees. We continue to promote ways we can collaborate in the presence of our differences and bridge divides that mitigate our capacity to serve each other. The opportunities for collaboration fosters understanding, empathy, and mutual respect, which in turn leads to the development of more equitable, inclusive policies and practices that has been informed by all. Each year, Mecklenburg County develops an annual operating budget that reflects the priorities of the county commission and the community. Since FY 2023, the Office of Management and Budget has facilitated budgeting outreach events. These outreach efforts during budget development provides residents an opportunity to speak directly with budget staff, provide feedback on priorities in the community, address areas of interest, and engage in interactive activities. Additionally, Public Information launched a Community Relations Stakeholders Group in fiscal year 2023. And they meet every month to share best practices, coordinate calendars, explore collaboration and partnership opportunities, network and build skills for better communication and engagement within the community. Some highlights from the Community Relations Stakeholders Group are event coordination, county resources, open houses and listening sessions, jury pool engagement, public input software, and our annual opioid community event. As I shared earlier, Mecklenburg County continues to receive positive community survey results demonstrating positive community perceptions of engagement, outreach, and county services. And so I want to thank our Public Information and County Manager's Office partners for their ongoing commitment to thoughtful engagement and responsiveness to the community as award-winning and is award-winning for that reason. Goal 4 is health equity. Aligning our equity action plans to the best practices of a thriving community is essential, and achieving health equity ensures that everyone can achieve and sustain their health goals. It focuses on addressing the disparities in health outcomes and access to health care services based on factors such as race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, geography, and the other social drivers of health. 80% of the 5 actions in this goal area have been completed, and of those completed actions, 40% are considered ongoing or sustained. 20% are in progress, and everything in this goal area is either sustained, underway, or complete. Mecklenburg County has 2 fully operational community resource centers that support our health equity goals. These centers house over 18 county services and 12 community partners. Services specific to health are care management for at-risk children, care management for high-risk pregnancies, family planning services, immunization clinics, and Medicaid programs. Our CRCs continue to expand capacity and offer services through an equity lens by coordinated social services, education, training, and workforce development, healthcare access, youth and family programs, resource referral, and technology access. Health equity underscores the key principle of ensuring that all people have a fair opportunity to attain their highest level of health. This goal aims to eliminate disparities in health and healthcare access linked to social, economic, and environmental disadvantages. These social drivers of health go beyond that, understanding that also income, education, access to healthcare, social support, all aim to equal health outcomes for all individuals. I want to thank DCM Trotman and all of our health and human services departments and partners for their ongoing and tireless services to the community. The realities of health equity are vast and dynamic, but these departments are truly world-class and leading the conversation around how to provide these critical services with dignity, respect, and equity at heart. Goal 5 is economic opportunity. 100% of the 6 actions in this goal area have been completed. Of those completed actions, 33% are considered ongoing or sustained, meaning everything in this goal area is either being sustained or a completed action. In 2014, Harvard researcher Raj Chetty, with his colleagues and fellow researchers, released a study that famously defined how where one grows up has a large degree of impact on shaping their economic prospects. The Chetty study identified Charlotte as it ranked 50 of the 50 largest communities in our country, 50. Since then, the study has been updated, and Charlotte's ranking has moved from 50 to 38th. However, this doesn't tell the full story of economic opportunity in Mecklenburg County. The county continues to foster opportunities for individuals and societal prosperity by providing people with the services and resources that improve vulnerable communities' financial and social well-being. 100% of the 6 actions in this goal area have been completed. And of those completed actions, 33 are considered sustained. As a social safety net, we provide services that help individuals secure stable employment, earn a living wage, and support themselves and their families. Our economic opportunity efforts empower people to meet their basic needs, access essential services, and plan for their future in ways that aren't mitigated by the realities of poverty or diminished quality of life. We are intentionally not spending too much time on this goal today as we partner with Deputy County Managers Johnson and Bryant and the Economic Development Team, specifically BDI, to provide a deeper dive and additional context at the upcoming board budget retreat later this month. I want to thank them for their leadership and look forward to the opportunity to share more. Lastly is our criminal justice. For a very long time, our criminal justice services have worked hard to ensure equity is the lens through which they do their work. They work daily to ensure equity, impartiality, and fair treatment within the criminal justice system. 71% of the 7 actions in this goal area have been completed. Of those completed actions, 57% are considered ongoing or sustained, and 19% are in progress. And everything in this goal area is either sustained, underway, or complete. In our Equity Action Plan, our CJS strategies are working to address the systemic inequalities of social justice injustices that disproportionately affect historically marginalized communities. By placing intentional focus on disparities such as arrest rates, sentencing outcomes, and access to legal representation and resources, it helps to reduce the overrepresentation of those groups within the criminal justice system and promotes greater collaboration, fairness, and accountability. CJS has worked tirelessly to reduce racial disparities and disproportionality within the criminal justice system. CJS has successfully completed and launched the 90-minute implicit bias training for criminal justice professionals, which has been made available to the public. In addition, staff are working with learning and development in our HR department to make the training available to local criminal justice partner agencies through our MEC-EDU platform. For law enforcement agencies with their own learning platform, CJS staff are working with agency representatives to make the curriculum available. The Criminal Justice Advisory Group, or CJAG, approved the Community Engagement Task Group's strategic plan in January 2023. Since then, the Community Engagement Task Groups has held several community conversation events, with others planned in fiscal year 2025. I want to thank Deputy County Manager Ramos for his service on the CJAG and the Criminal Justice Services team for their efforts, as they have led the way and been on the leading edge of many of our equity efforts. And we're going to end here with our future state. The work of our well-organized Equity Action Plan doesn't happen on the periphery of the work. It is embedded and supported. In this way, accountability isn't punitive. It naturally occurs as the practitioners of our efforts design and plan to provide the best services possible to all of our residents at the core of their work. They are doing the work, and with every presentation that comes before you, our teams are exploring differences, reviewing data for any disparities or disproportionalities, and ensuring that outcomes are fair and just for all. And when they aren't meeting our high internal expectations, doing everything within our power to solve for those disparities and close any and all opportunity gaps. We are auditing our perspectives to ensure our actions align with the expectations, experiences, and interests of our internal stakeholders. And we are looking to expand our equity training offerings available to all staff. And to underscore how embedded our equity work is with our departments, we have gone through the rigorous process of developing department-specific equity operating plans that are meant to align and inform department strategic priorities and objectives. Each department has a department equity action team designed to hold the department-level expertise while maintaining a lens of equity as they support their department directors' vision and mission for the department and service to the community and our county values. The DEETs, as we call them, are the boots on the ground that understand the department's actions and identify how they can support those efforts internally while also celebrating the differences that make up the department through creative engagement and internal activism. Ultimately, this supports future iterations of our Equity Action Plan as a fundamental way of aligning with our strategic business priorities. We are moving in a direction that will take everything we've learned over the initial plan and evolve them in ways that take them to the next level. Our goals remain aligned to best practice. But as we have enhanced department alignment, we found that there were opportunities to create more tie-ins for departments that may not have seen themselves in our initial plan. As we move forward, these additional goals were designed in response to staff feedback and internal conversations that uncovered the need for language that encapsulated the breadth of all county services that are offered through an equity lens. The items in blue represent new strategies. In Goal 3, Inclusive Engagement, Strategy C says, foster environments where county residents feel safe and engaged with county staff and/or vendors in county facilities and spaces. We want to ensure that the spaces we create and facilitate are welcoming, inviting, and ultimately safe for our staff, the community we serve, and anyone else that may occupy and utilize our facilities and services. Goal 4, Health Equity Strategy C states to close health and wellness disparity and opportunity gaps for residents that receive Mecklenburg County services. Services to our community that positively contribute to health and wellness outcomes happen all over the county. And accounting for the breadth of these services is an important evolution as it acknowledges that many of the services we offer advances health equity, but are not traditionally identified as such. And then lastly, Goal 5, Economic Opportunity. Strategy C says creates opportunity for Mecklenburg County residents to understand and engage with county staff to better understand processes that impact economic mobility. It's important to note that participation in the economic prosperity of our county touches individuals as well as the businesses and community-based organizations that offer services to the community. As our county continues to evolve, and to close economic mobility gaps found in the Chetty study, it will remain important that we are solving for these needs of the individuals and families in our community experiencing poverty. And while the work is fluid, and we consider much of this a living document, the formal alignment of these new strategies to our goals will be realized in the strategic period of fiscal years 2026 through 28. In an effort to ensure our practices are aligned and evolution of our work meets the demand, we are working to implement strategic alignment that takes into account the strategic planning efforts of our enterprise. This alignment not only underscores the importance of crafting goals and objectives with equity in mind, but it also crystallizes the relevance of the importance of disparate department work that may otherwise go unnoticed and considered to be siloed. We are also looking to expand our training opportunities to go beyond our baseline advancing racial equity training, to implement additional trainings that go beyond how we interact as individuals, how we seek and identify our human needs and necessities, and how we collaborate in the presence of all that difference. And then lastly, we will continue to support the evolution of the department's individual equity journey. And unlike goal alignment, this is also meant to say, how do people interact that identifies and recognizes the individual, interpersonal, and intrapersonal aspects of service delivery. These are the questions that serve as a backdrop for all of our engagement, but more specifically, they are the questions our departments are asked to consider as they set strategic goals, objectives, and priorities through an equity lens. They keep us focused on our desire to make an impact that is aligned with our internal expectations, but also designed to be measurable and specific to the needs of our staff and the community that we serve. In the end, we know that change takes time, but we also know that change happens at the speed of trust. The last time I presented this work to you, I quoted the artist and scholar Lauryn Hill and invoked her famous line, "How you gonna win if you ain't right within?" And while we've spent the last year or so really nailing our internal infrastructure and capacity, I'm going to leave you with another quote from Ms. Hill. She says, "After winter must come spring. Change, it comes eventually." This is not meant to suggest we are sitting idly by and waiting, but more of an acknowledgement that if we focus on our processes, remain disciplined in our efforts, our greatest aspirations are within our reach. So what's next? We are going to preview our equity action plan with our staff. We're going to continue developing and expanding our training curriculum. We're going to expand resources and support to our departments. And we're going to provide analysis and alignment to our strategic priorities. I want to thank every department director, team member, service staff, DCM, and the county manager for all of your work in support of these efforts. They simply don't happen without the dedicated individuals that make Mecklenburg County so great. I want to thank you, the board, for your ongoing support and encouragement, and please continue to reach out for any support or clarification we can offer. And lastly, I want to again thank Amanda Ebony and include Carly Godfrey and Derek Ramos for their support. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. I know we'll have questions from the board. We'll start with Commissioner Dunlap.
Well, I really just had one. And you know what happens when I start thinking. So as companies across the country start rolling back DEI plans, I'm still looking for a piece of legislation or something that says you can't implement it. And I'm wondering if these companies are doing it as a preventive measure to kind of just keep people off of them, or if there's something that's forcing them to do it. And then the other piece to that is, if there is such legislation, how will that impact what we're trying to do?
Thank you for that question. And simply put, currently there is no legislation that requires anyone to roll back these efforts. I think the most loosely connected precedent is the affirmative action rollback that was ruled by the Supreme Court of the United States. And I think that is why the university systems have voted the way that they have, but those do not filter into private sector businesses and how they organize their work, nor does it influence how local jurisdictions are able to serve and operate on behalf of their constituency.
That's what I wanted to know.
Right. Other questions? Commissioner Griffin.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of observations, but before that, the 1954 Brown decision gave rise to civil rights in 1964. So education leads the way. The education decision regarding Harvard and UNC Chapel Hill to roll back affirmative action education, it sort of leads the way again in terms of turning the clock back the other way. So just to give you the reference point of how pivotal education plays. 3 observations. As an old veteran, and you got 2 others up here, I always use LJA when folk are talking, whether you're black, white, rich, or poor. And that's what the chairman asked us to do earlier, with liberty and justice for all. So I always throw that out. So if they throw DEI, I just say LJA. Keep it moving. The second observation is the Chetty study. African Americans were on the bottom in Chetty 1. African Americans on the absolute bottom in Chetty 2. So there's a lot of work in terms of institutional stuff. You talked about equality and equity. We got a roadmap in terms of work we need to do jointly as a community. And third, I want to remind my colleagues, back in November or December, we voted on an opioid settlement agreement, and I was asking, what are the demographics? Who are the folk that died from overdoses? Who are the folk that we're trying to serve? And in haste of trying to get the money out to the community, we lost an opportunity to have our equity lens on in terms of your goal number 4, health equity. So we have to practice it not as just staff. We have to practice that as a board as we make these decisions going forward. But I'm impressed. I think this is my first report from Dr. Carter that I've participated in, I think. He's done that before?
I don't know if that we have yet, but thank you for the feedback.
Right.
And it's not doctor yet.
We did it in our committee, but not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. It's my first time getting this report. So thank you, sir. Thank you, County Manager. And just keep it rolling.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
So it's the first time that I've received it as well. And when you were going over the results above and below target, you said something that wasn't on a slide, and you were talking about psychological space.
Safety, yeah.
Can you say that, say that again and talk about that for a minute?
So psychological safety is the notion of being able to speak to your truth and lived experiences without fear of negative consequence. And I said that in reference to a specific slide because one of the questions that we ask, and we ask it intentionally, and I'm want to pull it up really quickly just to make sure that we're on the same page here. Just give me 1 second.
And while you're looking, the reason that it's so important to me, that is really important to me because I feel like if you're in the right space, you can make progress. But how do you get people to feel comfortable? And so one of the most comfortable places that I have in the world is talking to Commissioner Jarrell.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I can have any conversation about equity inclusion in a safe place.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important for, we all have different life experiences. How do we work on this?
Yes, yes. And as you can see here, the first question, I feel equipped to speak with colleagues about issues related to race, is a extrapolation of that notion, right? Having the skills to talk about those issues that are the most complex in our society, and knowing that you feel supported by leadership to be responsive, to be able to do that work. And so again, these are metrics that we put in place intentionally so that we can begin to build strategy based upon what we know. And as you can see, we're very close to that 90% threshold. It's just something that we want to be more intentional and mindful about as we implement our strategy.
I think it's really key, with people with different life experiences, like being able to have that. So, like, if I was going to say we really needed to work on how do we improve something, it's like, how do we do that?
Yeah.
And hopefully we talk about that at the retreat.
Yes.
I hope.
Well,
I hope.
not necessarily a retreat, but there will be future opportunities for us to discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you for the presentation, and I have seen this, at least bits and pieces of it being on the committee, but thank you. And I don't really have a question, really. I just want to say that I'm proud that this county is embracing this plan while we are watching, so many other entities just fall to the wayside, and which is disappointing, and to say the least.
Yes.
And then on goal 6 for the 26-28 goals, criminal justice, strategy A, it doesn't really look like a strategy. It just is I don't know what strategy we in the county could use for that, because I think that is huge. That's enormous. And so I would like to maybe see, it's not very concrete, I guess I should say. I'm not saying I have a answer to that. I'm just saying it's huge, criminal justice.
Thank you for that feedback. And as I was sharing during the presentation, we'll have an opportunity to revisit these strategies as we go into our next strategic period. So as the actions come back and the strategic business plans come back from our departments, part of the analysis and synthesis is saying, do we need to evolve our strategies in alignment and in support of new work? So there's an opportunity for us to build out a more robust response to your observation.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Townsend Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the report. It's funny because I was just having a conversation with Vice Chair Altman about having to police my thoughts, and what you had brought up, it's timely. Newsflash: I'm a Black woman, and having just come off of one of the most traumatic experiences, watching America choose. Option would seem clear to the ordinary individual. But of course, it shines a light on the fact that we're not there yet in any way, shape, or form. And I'm saying that because I do feel like I have to police my words, how I say them, what I say as a Black woman in particular. We had America choose a white male felon over an intelligent, qualified, experienced Black woman. And we heard over and over again, I don't know enough about her. I don't care if you didn't know anything about her. The option, it was insulting to me that we were given that option only, that they would even put that up as an option to compete. But I digress, because I get emotional about this. What I want to know is, considering all of that and all of the companies that are doing DEI rollbacks, what teeth do we have to say that the county will not do business, that we're serious about this is a priority, and we won't do business with anyone who entertains those types of things? Because otherwise, for the most part, you're just checking a box, right? I've met the quote, and that's what they want And that's what they think that we're rolling back. We're not going to check those boxes anymore. But really quantitative, qualitative change, impactful change. You know, I know that, you know, I said I'm not going to shop at Walmart anymore because of what Walmart did. I'm not going to buy McDonald's anymore because of what McDonald's did. Truth be told, that's the only place some people have to go. So you don't really have that option. But what we can control, what teeth do we have to control that, I guess is my question.
I was going to defer to our legal analysis because
Well, Commissioner Ingram, we are bound by statute how we contract. So we just cannot summarily say, if you don't do X, Y, or Z, we will not contract with you. We can put terms and conditions on the contracts and the individual with whom we contract, but the law lays out pretty much when we have certain types of contracts, there's the road we must follow.
what he said.
Vice Chair Altman, yes. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm interested, perhaps you could, I'm sure that the subcommittee has all this information, but I'd be really interested to see, like, you know, 9 out of 11, oh, thank you, 9 out of 11 goals are complete, like to see exactly what some of the, a little more drilled down are. So if you don't mind sharing that, I would be interested for these metrics and,
Yes.
you know.
Yes, I'll be able to provide those after, I don't have them all in front of me right now.
Sure.
But I'll be able to provide them in follow-up. I
By email.
absolutely get those to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
That would be great. You know, you made several quotes that were really moving. The one about breath, I forgot exactly what you said, but I'll have to go back and listen to it. But the other one, of course, is none of us are free until all of us are free. I don't really care what religion you are or what your background is, but God Almighty, is that not the truth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, you know, when I look at health equity and I think about how Dr. Washington, you know, shares with us the very stark disparities, you know, we look at the very stark disparities for household incomes. And, you know, when I think about what it's like when I walk into, you know, I've walked into a courtroom and seen people showing up for first appearance and the unbelievable stark disparities there. I'm glad that this is such a focus for us because none of us is free until all of us is free. So thank you.
Commissioner Rodriguez McDowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Sean. I have to say, I agree with Commissioner Altman that I'd like to see the actions.
Sure.
Because for me, these slides, I'm like, what are you talking about here? Like, what is this really saying? And I'm going to confess that, you know, I'm on the committee. And I'm going to go back and listen to this a few times because there was no space for me to absorb all that you were saying, because all that you were saying was super rich and packed. And I can't absorb the information that way. And so had we had the presentation ahead of time, like normally we do get some time to look at the material to try to absorb it. For me, I really need that time to try to just to process a little bit, because it's really hard to process at that speed for me. So I really appreciate the work that you are doing, and I am so proud of the work that the county is doing. I'm so proud of the board for having these priorities. But I really want to take this and maybe put it on slow playback so that I can take all in that you just said, because I feel like it's so rich.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't grasp onto it. Yeah. You know, you sort of get left behind if you're like trying to think through what you just said, and then you just went on all the way down here. So,
Yeah.
so for me, it was hard. It was hard to take it in.
Thank
So-
you for that feedback. And again, all of the resources will be provided to you, and we'll come back at the board retreat and perhaps be able to answer some more of your questions.
Thank you.
So, couple things. First off, anybody who can incorporate Prodigy and Lauryn Hill into this government work, you're the right man for the job, for sure.
Thank you.
You just need to show up on time for our concerts.
Well, he can't control that one. But certainly, I can't think of a better person to lead this effort, you and the team. So, thank you all. And I'd be remiss if I didn't include Aaron with that environmental justice framework. A couple things I want to say. The presentation is a lot to absorb. No question, there's a lot of slides. I do want to make the distinction between the Equity Investments Committee, Ad Hoc Committee, and the county's Equity Action Plan.
Right.
I do think there is a distinction between those two, I don't think. And so some of the things that we see in the ad hoc committee are sort of conflated and incorporated, but the county's equity action plan is a plan that the community can see that was developed, I believe it was 2019. And so I wanted to make that distinction. The other thing that I think is important to the board is really understanding what our role is. So when I listen to what everyone is saying, right, how do we influence? Because the Equity Action Plan is this internal document that we are using departmentally and to drive the culture within the organization. And when you think about it in those terms, I think it's important for the board to know, what do our team members expect from us? How can we help foster these conversations and really get more tentacles of the plan permeating throughout the organization? I think, anytime we look, and then also, the board wanting to wrestle with the question of how is what we're doing going to be transformational as well, particularly from an impact standpoint. And so those are just a couple thoughts that come to mind. And with that said, I just appreciate the comments. I hope you and the team really understand how important this conversation is to the board. And also with that, Sean, it means that it's important to the community because we are the voice. Everyone up here either at large has 1.2 million people or districts of 200,000 constituents plus. And so we are the voice of the community. And the community wants to make sure that this remains front and center. So thank you.
No, I appreciate that. And I think that with, now that this has been done, we can work on our cadence so that it's not one big dump and we can kind of offer feedback in more digestible terms, which is something that I think we certainly should do. And also, I think that the role that the board plays, not only serving as the visionaries that represent the community's values, but also serve as conveners and stakeholders that advocate for the types of things that the community wants to see. And then we come out and facilitate and engage with the people that make up our community is something we absolutely can do in partnership with the board.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Guess the last item on the agenda are commissioner reports. Madam Clerk, we'll do 3 minutes as always, and I will start to my left with Commissioner Townsend Ingram.
I have nothing to report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Commissioner Rodriguez McDowell.
No report.
Commissioner Powell.
So I have a little report. And I love that Sean talked about the speed of trust. And Dina knows a little bit about what I'm going to say, but last night it was so remarkable to me. You know how sometimes you're just looking around? It was so remarkable how many women were leaders in the room. First on the board, then on the school board, then in the audience, then the presenters. There were so many women. And so when Sean was talking about the speed of trust, I was thinking about all this last night without thinking about the speed of trust, but I was telling Dina, my mother used to wear a suit everywhere. And I used to say, Mom, like even on weekends, Mom, just relax. Or I didn't say that, but I was thinking it. Like, why are you wearing that? But it was because everywhere she went, she she had to dress the role. And it was, I don't know what to call that, but man, things have changed in the last, so I was thinking about the 1970s, and I was sitting there last night, and I was thinking about how many women had suits on, how many didn't, how comfortable it was, how many, it was just amazing to see the difference. It was so rare when I was growing up to see a woman in leadership, and then to see last night, it was just remarkable. So that, I just wanted everyone to think about that, because I wanted to take a picture, and then I thought, I don't want people to think I'm not paying attention, but I really saw, I mean, more women in that room than men. And the men are strong leaders, but there weren't many. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Meyer.
I have no report.
Commissioner Griffin.
I don't have a report, but I do have an announcement, and to thank this board. A year ago, you provided, Mr. Chairman, a proclamation for Julianne McKnight Teamer on her 107th birthday. On Thursday, she will have her 108th birthday.
Oh, man.
Chaz Lanning, a 1936 graduate of Second Ward High School. She will turn 108 years old Thursday. So, happy birthday, Ms. Teeman.
Happy birthday. Commissioner Dunlap.
Well, I don't have a report. That report from Commissioner Griffin was good enough, because I got to take a picture with her.
All right, Commissioner Altman.
I just really want to thank Anna London for coming in today. I know that request went out a little bit late last week, and it is so important and really detailed, and so I just appreciate your flexibility in being able to come here and answer all of our questions. And I would like to recognize our chair for leading a great joint BOCC-BOE meeting last night.
Good job.
I think it really great, conversation, a lot of wonderful, just important learning going on and dialogue going on with a really great spirit in the room. So I just want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Really quickly, I want to give a couple shout outs. One is to PI. Most of you know, and you received the email, when we look at some of the rebranding that we're trying to do related to education and what we do and who we are and what we're passionate about as county commissioners, I really want to thank PI for leaning in and listening, and Dina for you being a part and really hearing where we're trying to take this and have an even greater impact. And our partners, not only were they responsive, but, I mean, they executed. And I'm really, really appreciative of that execution. I also want to remind everybody, next Tuesday, and I'm going to ask us as board members to make sure that we get this information out to the public. We have a budget hearing, our first, next Tuesday, the 22nd. I'm sorry.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, thank you. I apologize, but let's get that information out to the public. This is the opportunity. So many people are coming to us with asks, all important. We have got to get this information out to them to let them know that this is their time or an opportunity. So let's push that out to our respective channels, our respective constituents, so that they are aware. And Commissioner Townsend Ingram, this will be your first, but not your last. And but it's very, very interesting to hear from the public around their requests and what they feel like the needs are. So wanted to make sure that we lifted that up. And with that said, that ends my report, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Any unreadiness? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.